Welcome back in. Happy Wednesday. Sipple, Parker, Lincoln Journal-Star, HuskerExtra.com. This is the 2-minute drill. If you missed 4 downs, we covered a lot of quarterback ground, and that's what check that out at journalstar.com. Sipple for the 2-minute drill. We heard from the head coach today, too.
Yeah.
And he didn't just talk about quarterbacks. He talked about a bunch of other stuff, too. So just sort of size up where he thinks Nebraska is at this point in camp, and then also a couple of interesting things we heard from him. First thing is, he said, he's encouraged by what he's seen so far, but I think the setup in terms of a lot of new coaches and a lot of new players is still probably obvious, but still being felt 5 practices in. He said it's just not quite, all of the seams don't quite fit together yet in terms of like everybody being on the same page and everything running without a hitch. I mean, it's a big undertaking what they're trying to pull off.
I would say to that, it'd be really strange if it was.
Yeah,
if
just running smooth.
I wouldn't expect 5 practices in that they would come out of it feeling really good about where they are. I mean, there's just a lot of, first of all, 16 new scholarship players. And you hear about a lot of these guys that are prominent.
Right.
Okay, obviously Casey Thompson at quarterback, you start there. But he talked about Kevin Williams and Hunter Anthony today, the offensive linemen who are getting a lot of first team reps. Trey Palmer, the first receiver that usually comes out of the mouths of these guys, be it a quarterback or whoever, is Trey Palmer, a new guy. These are all, there's a lot of new moving parts here. So I would, if I were Frost, I would hope that by the end of spring, you'd feel decent about where you're set for fall camp. Decent. I wouldn't even say you have to feel really good, just decent.
So I thought maybe the most interesting thing Scott said today was about the offensive line.
Yeah.
And he was talking about sort of the offense and how you start to see the pieces coming together. He believes it's going to be really good when it's all said and done. But when he was talking about the offensive line, he said, he used the term obvious. He said it's obviously improved under the direction of Donnie Raiola. And I found that interesting. He went back to the same things he's been talking about for months, physical and aggressive off the ball. And then he said he thought they're pass protecting better, so far as well, too. And it's interesting. I mean, that's an area, it's obviously struggled there last year, but the further you get away from the 2021 season, the more you can tell how much it bothered him, how they played up front.
Yeah, and you're right. But you can remember there were 3 or 4 instances last year during the fall where he would say, I want our offense to come off the line and strike people.
Yeah.
Be more aggressive. And I think that's why they hired a Raiola.
Yeah.
The Raiola name to me is associated with that sort of play. Ferocious, off the ball, come off the ball. It's not about finesse. It's not about necessarily a lot of thinking, although there's always that with the offensive line. It's about physical line play. Not that Greg Austin wasn't about that,
right?
But it's just like anything else in life, Parker. It's a matter of degrees.
Yeah.
You're a good writer. I'm a great writer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I couldn't think of a better example if I tried. Is it you're of one age and I'm also of an age, and there's just a different degree of how old we are.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
So just to sort of reset the deck here before this goes entirely off the rails.
Let's get
5 practices in. Friday's a scrimmage day, one of 3 sort of full contact scrimmages that they get this spring. And then the kids go into spring break. They're off for a week. Mark Whipple talked about building a library of information. And then the kids over their spring break, when they're on the beach or whatever, will also study a little bit of tape. The coaches will sort of figure out where they're at, and then there'll probably be some adjustments coming into week 3 on the other side of spring break.
You know what else Whipple talked about? And this was, one other thing. Whipple talked about what he wants to see in the scrimmage. What he doesn't want to see is turnovers.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads you to believe that that's been a bit of an issue, right? He wants to see cleanliness, and that any offensive coordinator is going to look for that above almost everything else.
He was up here, Whipple was up here talking without his shoes on today, so it's no wonder you guys get along.
Yeah.
For Sipple, I'm Parker. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, that round.